I'm going to go ahead and get us started, and hopefully Chantel will be able to join us momentarily. So welcome, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Elizabeth Drembus, and I'm the genealogist with the William and Mary Bray School Lab. In service to the Bray School Lab's mission to uncovering, documenting, preserving, and disseminating the history and the legacies of the Williamsburg Bray School, we host a monthly series on Zoom in order to share recent genealogical findings, engage the descendant community in this work to better understand to broaden our understanding of those legacies. And we also enlist the help of historians, genealogists, as well as the general public in furthering the conversations and the research surrounding the Williamsburg Bray School. So the title of the monthly series is Bray School Stories, and this evening's focus is Lord Dunmore and the legacy of Black Loyalists. So first, some housekeeping items. Once again, we are recording the session. It will be available later on our YouTube channel. To find it, simply Google Bray School Lab YouTube. If you prefer not to be recorded, please feel free to keep your camera off and watch the recording later on the YouTube channel. So I'm joined this evening by descendant community member Stephanie Dunmore and her two colleagues, Kindle Decker and Chantel Vanterpool. So our monthly sessions are designed to spark conversation, and I'm going to speak briefly about a Bray School scholar who took the opportunity to leave with Lord Dunmore. And then I'm actually going to turn the mic over to Stephanie, who's going to lead this evening's conversation. So I invite you to share your thoughts and your comments in the chat. I'm really looking forward to a great conversation. So let me go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with just a couple images I wanted to be able to share with you. So, and we will start here. All right. So we always start with kind of a connection to the Williamsburg Bray School. And we call the subtitle of this evening's session is called Gone to the Enemy. And you're going to see where we come up with that. But I want to be able to share with you one Bray School scholar, as I mentioned, who took the opportunity to seek his freedom. These are two of the transcriptions of the correspondence between the Bray School, Williamsburg Bray School trustees here in Williamsburg back to the associates in London. The list on the left is from 1765, and the list on the right is from 1769. And in both of those lists, we see the name of Sam, who was enslaved in Peyton Randolph's household. And so we don't know whether Sam attended the Bray School continuously from 1765 to 1769, but we know that he shows up on that list. And both of these transcriptions, along with the other transcriptions that our William and Mary students have been doing, are available on our research portal on our website. To make it even more kind of accessible, we do have a compiled two-pager on the website that really shows the list of the children, all compiled by household, who attended the Williamsburg Bray School. So we see Sam, and we also know that Peyton Randolph and his wife, Elizabeth Randolph, sent Aggie and Roger, but for this evening's discussion, we're talking about Sam. And so Sam shows up in the Bray School records in that way. And what's important to know is that Peyton Randolph, not only was he a speaker in the House of Burgesses, but he also served as the president of the First Continental Congress. And he was also serving in Philadelphia when he died. And he died on the 22nd of October in 1775. And this time period was really volatile in Williamsburg. And he died suddenly. And so I want you to kind of just keep the time period in mind. So it was the 22nd of October in 1775. Folks who attended our Bray School Stories session back in February might be familiar with our Standing in the Gap timeline. And if not, I totally recommend it to you. We do have that recording available. And our William and Mary student, Daniel Pleasant, who worked on the Standing in the Gap project, did an amazing job. And what I've done is just taken one tiny screenshot of part of that timeline that's available. That QR code will take you right to the full timeline, but for purposes for this evening, I just wanted to capture that time period of Lord Dunmore's proclamation. So Peyton Randolph died on the 22nd of October. Lord Dunmore made his proclamation on November 7th, just about a week or so later. And basically his proclamation, for those who aren't familiar with it, he basically offered up freedom for enslaved people who were enslaved in patriotic households. They had to serve with him in the war. They had to survive the war. And then he promised them their freedom. So we know that from Virginia alone, around 1,500 people took him up on that offer. And our Bray School scholar, Sam, was one of those people. And how do we know that? Let me show you. So remember, Peyton Randolph died in October 75. Lord Dunmore's proclamation was posted in the 7th of November. And on the 20th of November, so we're talking a real short time period, the 20th of November, Peyton Randolph's estate in Williamsburg was appraised. And the estate appraisal and inventory was posted into the York County records on the 20th of November. And among the inventory were the list of enslaved people in that household. And that's where we see Sam's name, and it's highlighted right here. So the next thing we found in the records, and this comes from the estate records of Peyton Randolph's household, kept by his nephew, Edmund Randolph, who was the executor of his estate. And if you're lucky enough to have both sets of records, what was reported into the county records, as well as what the family themselves were holding on to. Sometime later, after the 20th of November, before probably about 1783, a notation is made that among the enslaved household in Peyton Randolph's household, there's a notation of gone to the enemy. And Sam, along with several others from Peyton Randolph's household, were seeking their freedom, because even though we had Peyton Randolph and the other patriotic leaders, and we think of those founding fathers in Williamsburg at that time, promoting this idea of independence, promoting the ideas of liberty, for the enslaved people, that promise wasn't being stated. And Lord Dunmore's proclamation did in fact state that and promise that. And so for people who feel that they are entitled to freedom, they were going to go with that, go with the people that were promising that. And so that's just a little bit of a snapshot of a connection that we have with the Williamsburg Bray School scholar, Sam, who took advantage of this big thing that was happening, not only in Williamsburg, but in Virginia and what would become this new nation. And so I'm going to stop sharing at that point, and I want to turn it over to Stephanie to take it from here. But let me go ahead and introduce you. And actually, let me just ask, anybody questions at this point before we really get into the heart of this conversation this evening? Okay, good. I'm excited too to get started. So let me introduce Stephanie. Stephanie M. Dunmore is an IT maven with 30 years of experience, a training technologist, storyteller, and amateur genealogist. An agriculturalist at heart, she connects land and story through her love of gardening, which inspired her to found Harmony's Dandelion Brands, LLC. Her family's deep Virginia roots connect directly to the Bray School story. And today she brings both her professional expertise and personal legacy to this conversation. Welcome, Stephanie. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to speak at Bray School Stories. You're going to have to unmute, though.
There you go. So I'm very excited about this subject because, do you hear an echo? Because I believe I'm on 2. Okay, let me mute that. Okay. So I am here because of the connection that I've made with 2 fabulous people. And, I'm a storyteller, so let me start with that. I work in Washington, D.C., and I was on contract. And it was a day about a year ago. And I put in the chat of my of my business, my company um, chat, that I am going to Williamsburg and I'm going to miss the actual party that we were having, the holiday party. However, they canceled the holiday party, and so I was disappointed. So I put in the chat, "Oh wow, I am not going to Williamsburg because they canceled it, and I can't. And I could have been doing my genealogy stuff in Williamsburg, Virginia." So Michael, or I call him most affectionately Michael, but Achille chimed in, and he saw my name, Dunmore. And he said, yeah, are you from the Lord Dunmore family? I was like, yeah, that's me. No. But he did say, I am connected and let's talk. And we did. And the conversation has led us up to this point. The conversation is about our connection to the Bray School, mine here in Williamsburg, Virginia, but his in Nova Scotia. And this is how the story started. Also, we introduced Achille, I'm sorry, Chantel, into the picture. And we do have a connection as well. And I'm going to let them explain it. I was late today because my computer did crash and I do not have the PowerPoint. However, I do have it and I will mail it out. So, what we're going to do is have a conversation that hopefully you're going to glean a lot of great information from and understand our connection, understand why this is a spiritual journey for all three of us, and that the connection is so meaningful. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to allow Achille to introduce himself and tell us
Stephanie,
the story.
Stephanie,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. I believe we still are hearing an echo. Is that correct? I'm
Oh,
seeing a
okay.
lot of chat. We don't want it to continue any
Okay.
longer because we want to have a good quality
Yes. Yes.
experience for people who are here and, of course, for the recording. Um, so
If
we
she
want to
would
take care of that.
mute, if she would just mute,
Yeah, I did.
yeah,
Thank
that.
you.
Okay. Can you hear me now clearly?
That
Okay.
sounds much
Thank
That
better.
you.
sounds
Yeah,
better. Yeah.
great. Thanks.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Stephanie, for the introduction, especially more so for laying the grounds on how we interacted in terms of this very important story and connection. A bit about myself. My name is Akindele Decker. I was born and raised, even though you can't tell from my accent, but I was born and raised in Sierra Leone, West Africa. I did come here, I would say about 20 to 30 years now. So I've been here quite a while. I've been in Maryland for most of those years. I live in Maryland currently with my family. Like Stephanie, I'm also in the IT field. However, I also juggle between IT as a career and genealogy as a lifelong passion, which I've been doing for about 20 years now. So I have done quite a bit of genealogy research, mostly, well, at least for both of my maternal and paternal lines. And I think one of the paths that genealogy led me down would be the path of a writer. With all the information that I was gathering all those 20 years, I sort of struggled to find a way to pass that information along, being that I'm not an academic historian. So I sort of wore the shoes of a public historian, which is sort of the shoes I kind of wear today. And I found other creative ways to tell the story. And I decided to write several historical fiction novels that are based on my genealogy. Um, do have one here. This is called 1800. And this is actually based on the Black Loyalists. In my research, I found that my maternal side is linked to the Black Loyalists. Now, just a small background to that. Well, actually, you know what? I'll stop for now, just so I don't go too deep into it. But yes, that's just a bit about me. Thank you, Stephanie.
Okay. Chantal is also a creative, and she expresses her storytelling of this loyalist in her journey in her family, and the discovery through artwork as well. So she says she's not a speaker, but why we were late is because we were talking about the family, and we were talking about the family trees and our connections, and it's the way that the story is woven is that both I call him Michael and Chantal are here because of the family connection, the kindred, the names that show up in the Book of Negroes. If anyone knows about that, we search those databases. We have DNA connections that actually connect our families, the Crawleys, the Diggs, the Chantal, help me with this. And all the names that the Willises that connect us from this 360 journey of our families. It started here in the Chesapeake. It started here in Williamsburg, and they're finding out more about our connections through the Bray School, through these names, and through the people that our ancestors that actually left and was seeking freedom. And I think that's our story, and that's what we want to convey is that we were freedom seekers. Um, I tell them about how we were free here, so that's fascinating for them. But we're trying, and we have documented. I wish that my computer didn't crash at the very last moment, and we will have that the complete history and the documentation that supports everything that we're going to try to talk about today. Okay. Um, But Chantal, can you tell us about yourself?
Hi, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Chantel. I was born and raised in Nova Scotia, Preston, Preston, North Preston. I have family in North Preston and East Preston. I've been in the U.S. for, since the 90s, Maryland, for the past decade. Um, I'm an artist. I also love to I work in the health and wellness field. And yeah, I'm delighted. I'm excited. Aw, the love.
And nervous. It's okay. I told her that she's amongst friends right here and that we're all on this same journey of discovery. And we want to hear the stories because we want to make the connections. And I think that's one of the beauty of it all. Um, if you can tell us about your family in Preston. Tell them the stories, the oral history, because a lot of this comes from the stories that are passed down. And that's an art in itself to be able to listen to the stories and make these connections. What is the one thing that your families say about the family that they left behind?
I guess I can start with storytelling. Growing up with my grandmother's great grandparents, they often told us stories about um, our family that were back in the States, I guess they call in America, in the States, the Black Loyalists, I guess what we call the Black refugees that came in 1812, but I don't really remember them referred to as the Black refugees per se. It was more so the Chesapeake Blacks or the Blacks of Chesapeake. So yeah, they just referred to we have, those are our people. Those are the Maroons. Those are our people. There was one story, great grandmother used to talk about, of Aunt Fanny. I guess it's a story that a lot of people in the community know about. Aunt Fanny, she was in Nova Scotia, and she was in her 90s in the 1800s. And Aunt Fanny used to always pray for our people that were back in the Chesapeake, in America. So I think that was very memorable. Yeah, she would be in church or wherever she was outside, and that was probably one of the most memorable.
Can you name some of your family names so that we can have those on record?
Some of them you named already: Crawleys,
Diggs,
Biggs.
Willis.
Yeah, they date back to the 1800s. Willis, Downey. Yeah. Fields.
And so my connection that I made, because I do have 2 DNA matches for the Nova Scotia, and I often overlook those 2 names quite often because we kind of, when we're doing this research and we're not the professionals that some others and the historians, we don't have the record, so we didn't know, and I didn't know the connection. But this is how we made the connection, was those 2 relatives on ancestry.com. If you know me, I have about 7,000 people on there, and that's how I make the connections, and that's how I made this connection. And they are connections to the Bray School, and to the several Bray schools that were in Canada and in the area. So all of the people that we in ancestors that we're talking about, and I'm so sorry I don't have the slides because visuals do help to tell that story when we're talking about oral history so that you can see it. But I will make it available. And it's such a, as I said, a spiritual journey. And the 2 things that I think that connects all of this is about the education of the students. And we 3 often talk about that, about how education was important in the community as well, and why the Bray School in learning was a part of that. Michael, can you speak a little bit more on that as well?
Sure. Thank you, Stephanie. In fact, as Chantel was going through the names of her family and also just the oral history as well, I was sitting here saying that it's unfortunate that, because I guess both the length of time and the wide gap in the ocean between here and Africa, that a lot of those stories, those oral stories at least, did not retain in Sierra Leone as strong as it did in Nova Scotia. However, what we have hints. There would be sort of these small hints within families where, I was over my sister's house, I think about 2 weeks ago, and we were having a conversation. And, I'm telling her about my research, and I'm like, yeah, this family line and so forth. And she said, yeah, grandma told me we descend from a freed woman from Nova Scotia. And I was like, I was so astonished because she's not into the research as I am. But for some reason, that oral story had sort of passed through to her instead of me. So I was very, very surprised. But these are sort of the hints of oral history that we have when it comes to the Black Loyalists. Now, in terms of the legacy of education, I think for me, that is the reason why I became interested in the Bray School. Now, the first page of my book, 1800, actually takes place in, fictional Williamsburg Bray School. Now, the reason is, as I did my research, and just so, I think one of the things that I found stunning was how complex these Black loyalists were, who went to Sierra Leone. The way that they advocated for their liberty in Nova Scotia and in Sierra Leone were mainly through petitions, some of which they wrote themselves. So I always wondered where that came from. I mean, in Sierra Leone, I think in the mainstream, it is believed that the settlers that came in 1792 and established this settlement of Freetown were just taken from plantations and sort of thrown in Africa. And so that gap of a story of their humanity, their most of them being learned people, was always lost. Now, my mother, her maiden name is Carol. Now, among the Black loyalists was a family of Carols. The household head was George Carroll, and he lived in Annapolis Royal, Nova Scotia. And so I did my research, and there happens to be a lot of information about him in the records. And I found his journey going from Annapolis Royal to Sierra Leone in 1792. And along with these other 1,916 Black loyalist settlers, founded this settlement in Sierra Leone called Freetown, which today remains the capital city. Now, there was such a unique thing about the Carrolls, from the family of George Carroll to my own near ancestors of Carrolls that I know about, that sort of centered around education. My great-great-grandfather, his name was Daniel Carroll. He was born in around 1827. And in 1845, he was one of the first 14 foundational students of the CMS Grammar School, which is the oldest secondary school or high school in sub-Saharan Africa. And while I was in Sierra Leone, I also attended the grammar school as well. So I was always fascinated about how, what is the connection between the love of education in Sierra Leone among this group and, the Bray School, because I knew that, just within a context of time, the Bray School would have been those sets of schools that would have existed before these Black loyalists left here to go to Nova Scotia. So that is what, sort of my fictional story is centered around, in terms of how did this legacy of education go from this place over there.
So also, Michael, can you explain to them the 360 and your connection here to the Americas, Nova Scotia, and then back to Sierra Leone?
Yes. So as an African, because I am still an African as well, as an African, I think the natural connection that people make is that my connection to America is a one direction connection, meaning that my ancestors would have come here. And I don't think a lot of people know about the other connection, which is the Black Loyalist connection, as well as the Liberian connection as well. of the African Americans that went to Africa. Now, a lot of people know about the Liberian connection, because I think that's more in the mainstream as well. But a lot of people are unaware that there was this Sierra Leone settlement that started almost, what, 50 years or so, or at least 30 or so years before Liberia. And so my ethnic group is, we're called the Creoles, which is, not we started out with the spelling of the C, but then ended up with the spelling of K, Krio. And the Black Loyalists are actually the first, or at least among the first ancestral group of the Creoles. And so you would find several families within the Creole community who are descended from some of these Black Loyalist families. Um, Obviously, I found my way over here with my mother in 1996 and was a Sierra Leonean immigrant here in Maryland, of all places. And so, over the years, as I was doing my research, just knowing the connection with Carroll. Now, George Carroll was not in the Book of Negroes. However, I started his journey from Annapolis Royal, but I always wondered where he came from. There's another Black loyalist called Daniel Carey, who I believe I'm also related to. And he's in the Book of Negroes, and he comes from Caroline, Virginia. Now, I also did my ancestry DNA in 2021. And lo and behold, I found a few Careys in my DNA matches. So it was very interesting coming here and going through places like New Carrollton and Carroll County and just seeing this Carroll. One of the other African American families that I connected to in Ancestry DNA, they are the Gant and Kent families from Calvert County. And I came to understand, especially speaking with Stephanie, the dynamics of the geography, per se, of how the Chesapeake on the Maryland, both the Maryland and the Virginia side, was can sort of be understood. So I came to understand that Calvert County was part of that Chesapeake region as well. And just a few weeks ago, I went to an event in Calvert County. And I thought, I'm going to see if there's any Carroll here. And I just typed it in the GPS and found my way on Carroll Street. So it's quite amazing. But there's so much more. But I'll stop here for now, Stephanie.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And this is just a small teaser to what the story really is, in the names and the connections and the diagrams and all the things that we worked on that I keep on saying, sorry, I crashed my computer. But what I can say, it was a 360, and I think it's a 360 for a lot of us now finding out this missing piece to Lord Dunmore's proclamation, connecting these names and families. And it's always important to me to make that DNA connection. And I've done that. And it's absolutely amazing because we have been talking for a year and we never really talked about the DNA connection as much because we were so fascinated by the oral history. And that was like the cherry on top for us, is looking at all these names. And then actually Carrie was also changed to Casey as well here in the Virginias. and there's a Daniel Carey on my on my tree. So when we think about that, and it's like a puzzle, we have this, you know, I want to say 500,000 piece jigsaw puzzle, and we're trying to put it all together, and we're doing it. And I am just so excited about it. And you know, I'm a crybaby, so I'm gonna try not to cry. But I wanted them to share this story, and I want them to continue to share the story because I think there's more that we have to discover. I think that we definitely have that connection with the Bray School, and my research goes really deep into that and the triangulation of it all. And that's what we're talking about, you know, the Chesapeake going to Nova Scotia, and then you know, Michael's family then going back to Sierra Leone, and now he's back. That's full circle. And that's the same thing with Chantel's family as well. And now my family, I could probably say that that is the journey that my family also has taken, and that kinship. And I just hope that our story, their story, helps to connect in some of these names. So I welcome anyone and everyone to let's explore it together if you have that connection. Um, and it goes into a lot of different, you know, it helps to explain my 18%, almost 20% European descent, the Scots and the Ireland and Barbados and the islands, and my Native American ancestry. It's all explained through this very story. It really is. It's so fascinating. And I'm so sorry I don't have the slides to tell you and show you, but I will. I will. So,
Stephanie, thank you. Thank you. I'm so sorry too. I can see that it's paining you that you don't have the slides.
yes.
Were there, you brought, people are putting comments in the chat, and I, you know, if you,
I can't even see them.
it's okay, that's okay. Many expressions of thank you, first of all, for sharing the stories.
We kind of changed the whole narrative based
Okay.
on a lot of the family ties, and a lot of it is directly related to the migration
Mhm.
and the town of Preston, that most, well, Chantel and I, our families kind of originated in, and and those names that we were talking about, right? Those
Mhm.
connections. And we were talking about just the education itself of this story and how it can be so impactful. And because, and also Michael talked about this, it's a story that needs to be told because a lot of us do not know this part of the history, you know, and it's so timely, and it's, and you're hearing it from people that have lived in Nova Scotia, have lived through and tell stories of the Great Railroad. I mean, the Underground Railroad. I said the Great Railroad because I'm sure it was great. and and we want to say so much. I think that's what it is. I think
Okay.
that we want to say so much. We became very overwhelmed, honestly, because we didn't actually know. And I told them, be this is a chance to tell your story,
Right.
and people will make the connections. We're here as family. We're here as friends. And what you say, you don't know how it's going to help the next person in that puzzle piece that they need to put together for themselves and for the greater, you know, for the greater audience, right?
Oh, sure, absolutely, absolutely.
And
Go ahead,
Stephanie,
Michael. I'm
sorry, for a
sorry.
sec. Stephanie Elizabeth,
Mhm.
can I share my screen? I've just pulled up an image of just a map
Sure.
that you guys can continue to talk, but it might be a visual that can help in the absence of
Yes.
losing some of the other visuals. So let me share my screen and just pull that up and certainly continue
Okay.
to conversate.
Okay, terrific. And you've got capabilities. Yes, you do. Okay, good. Some of the comments from the chat while Maureen is pulling that up. From Shelley Murphy, she says, John Murray, Scottish for sure. I believe he was a Highlander. And so that is, John Murray was the name of Lord Dunmore, was his name.
Yes.
Teddy Ashby wrote, thank you, Stephanie. Any connection to the Paris family? Paris.
Could be, I'm not sure, but we can definitely explore it together. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. Melanie Roberts wrote, I'm a researcher at Berkeley Plantation in Charles City County, just outside of Williamsburg. She says, we have a British ship manifest from the Nova Scotia archives that lists Sarah, former property of Lord Dunmore, on the ship La Angle, part of the evacuation from New York to Nova Scotia for the Black Loyalists. Is that something you're already familiar with?
No, but that is love it, love it, love it.
Good. And then Nicole Brown wrote, she was just in Nova Scotia. It's nice to meet all of you. She is, I'm sure you already know that there was a Preston, Nova Scotia Bray School in the 1780s. Okay, yes, heads are nodding. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And so, Maureen, thank you for sharing the map. This gives us a little bit of a better visual for kind of the area that we're discussing in Nova Scotia.
Sure. Stephanie, did you want to say anything given that the map is up? Specific to what people are saying, or any of our guests this evening?
So I can't see it. If whoever's on a computer, see, I'm on my telephone right now.
Okay.
So I can't see it.
I can chime in just a bit.
Great. Yes.
And I think I'm glad to see Chantel there, because I think she's back and she can talk a bit more about the exhibit. Now, Chantel and I have, we met years ago, a couple of years ago, when she was actually going to Sierra Leone. And she also got a chance to visit Sierra Leone for the first time. Now, in terms of just a bit on the, well, actually, Chantel, I think you can talk on the educational bit. I was going to talk about the Bray schools in Nova Scotia. And I think Chantel can start on that, and then I can talk about the connection to Sierra Leone as well.
I mean, you can go and talk about the Bray schools. I think where they left off was, what did they say about a teacher that was in Preston?
Mm-hmm.
It was, yeah, and I was just gonna talk about, we actually feature in the exhibit, we feature a teacher that went from Nova Scotia to Preston. Her name was Catherine Abernathy. So she's actually featured in the exhibit. She left with the Black Loyalists and went through Sierra Leone. So one of the pieces that is exhibited in there, I actually have a piece that's called Abernathy Goddess. So yeah, I was just gonna chime in on that, but you can talk about the Bray School. She was a teacher, a school mistress for the Bray School.
Yes.
Kendall. Yeah.
Yes. There's Catherine Abernathy, who led the school in Preston. There was also Joseph Leonard, who led the Bray School in Annapolis, as well. Annapolis Royal, Nova Scotia. And both of them actually went to Sierra Leone in 1792. In fact, after they arrived in Sierra Leone, both of them, Joseph Leonard and Catherine Abernathy, started their own schools in Freetown. So as early as 1792, we had, these Black teachers with their own schools in Freetown, bringing in that Bray curriculum, which included, anything from, like, I would say Bible studies to, sewing and needlework for the girls as well. Also, there were students in some of these Bray schools in Nova Scotia, who left Nova Scotia when they were about, some I think were 10, 11, others in their early teens. For example, the school in Annapolis, led by Joseph Leonard, he had one of his daughters as one of the students, and another daughter who helped him as an assistant. And this continued on in Freetown as well. And when they went to Freetown, the Bray School, actually, or the associates of Dr. Bray, also wanted to sponsor Bray schools in Freetown as well. And this effort, or these correspondences, went on till, I would say, probably about the 1820s or so. So well into the early 1800s, that effort was there. Now, the connection with grammar school and the Bray School, which I found fascinating, was that both were Anglican led. I believe the Bray School was also Anglican for the most part, at least. Dr. Bray himself, I believe, was an Anglican, but the CMS, which is the Church Missionary Society, they started out as, I can't remember the last part, but it was the society of, similar to the, I believe, the Society for Promoting Christian Knowledge and the Society for Propagation of the Gospel, which are associated to the Bray School as well. The CMS started in around 1799, and this was sort of related to a group of students that were taken to England in 1799 by the then governor. And these students was a mix of children of chiefs and even a few slave traders in the region, along with a few of the children of the settlers from Nova Scotia as well, made up this group of students that were taken to England. One of the things I find very fascinating with that is that the governor took along sort of a chaperone, and that chaperone was Mary Perth, who was actually from Norfolk, I want to say Norfolk, Virginia. And she was the one who chaperoned these group of students in England. Now, I always connect that group of students to the rest of the education history in not just Sierra Leone, but West Africa, because on the one end, it was related to the establishment of the Church Missionary Society. And I want to say between 1804 or 1806 to about 1816, the Church Missionary Society, like the Bray, started small mission schools across West Africa. So in Sierra Leone, in Guinea, in Senegal, and it was sort of modeled after this same type of, group of children that they taught. And that ultimately led to the founding of, the grammar school. So I like to make that connection 360, but also looking at it from the humanity of those settlers themselves.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That was the connections with the Bray School and the education, the curriculum is just astounding me right now. So thank you. I do want to report one of the people in the chat, Sheila Vance, wrote all wonderful. I'd love to hear about Stephanie Dunmore's family. Sheila says, I talked to Elizabeth last week about her great-great-grandfather, Squire Dunmore, who was born in Virginia and settled in Port Deposit, Maryland. There is a squire at the Bray School. Sheila says her DNA is also 20% Scottish. I think, Stephanie, she'd like to compare notes a little bit with you if we've got a little bit of time.
We do. And I'm sorry to say that I am not bloodline Dunmore. are from that married line of Lord Dunmore. That is my husband's name. But it always catches the attention of people, and I think it's a conversational starter, and it helps with weave into this story in the connection that we made. However, my husband has passed on, but I do and am researching that side of the family to find out if there's any connection, because we know that his name wasn't Dunmore, of course, but that doesn't mean that they didn't take on that name of Dunmore, and that's what I'm starting to see that connection. But of course, I would love to talk about it because it's all in the connection of everything that we're talking about here. So it's important part of the story. So yes.
And for Sheila and for Stephanie, I can easily make that introduction to you so you guys can
Okay.
notes.
Thank you.
And Stephanie, Teddy Ashby writes, Stephanie, what is your maiden name, please?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Teddy Ashby is asking what your maiden name is, what your family name is.
Okay, so my connection to the Williamsburg area is the Reeds on my father's side, the Holmes, the Caseys, and even the Archers, all from the Grove area.
Okay.
And those names are also historical. So if you want to look them up and see who they are, especially the Caseys and the Archers, but it's also the Days, the Webbs on my father's side. And that would be in the Grove area. Well, all of Williamsburg, really, you know.
Right. Exactly.
I say affectionately, we are the 12 tribes of Williamsburg. And out of those 12 tribes of people, you have all of us, all of the descendants. On my mother's side, it would be, and this is the connection, is on my paternal side of the family, is related to the Bray School descendants and the Black Loyalists. And that would be the Allens, the Whites, the Tylers, the Browns, the Shepherds, and I think a lot of you know these names from Charles City County.
Right.
Yeah, Stephanie,
And the Joneses, and should I go on?
No.
I have 7,000 people on my family tree.
Hey, Stephanie.
Yes.
I asked you, what was your maiden name?
My maiden name is Drakeford. There is no connection.
Oh, no, I wasn't asking about connection. I just want to know what your maiden name is.
Oh, okay. But that's why I was saying I didn't know. So yes, Drakeford is my maiden name.
Oh, Drakeford. Yes, right.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. That's all I wanted to know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just went on and on and on. But we're related, Teddy. We have a DNA match, right? Yes.
Okay.
That is correct. Right. And you did go on and on and on. I'm like,
I did.
You know how to answer one question? Like you said,
Excellent. I also want to read. So Shelley Murphy wrote in the chat. She said, "The book I am reading," and Maureen, I think you'll like this. "The book I am reading mentions Dunmore and his encounters with enslaved women. The book is called The Perfect Frenzy: A Royal Governor by Andrew Lawler." And so yes, so Maureen just wrote that she's also reading it. That is the hot book right now as well. So Stephanie, when you mentioned that people are talking about Lord Dunmore, they're talking about the legacy of Black Loyalists. They're talking about just this whole piece of this history that doesn't get as much attention as it has. It is the hot topic right now. And I was so pleased when you mentioned, hey, can we talk about this on Bray School Stories? I was like, absolutely. So I'm so grateful.
Yes.
I am looking at the time, and I want to be mindful and respectful of everyone's time. We have just a couple more minutes left. If there are any remaining questions for our three guests this evening, any questions about even anything that has sparked your curiosity or interest this evening? We have a couple more minutes for those questions. Okay, so Tyler Lewis wrote, Mrs. Stephanie, are you related to the Reeds of Suffolk as well?
Okay, so I have not actually done any real connection to a particular area with family members. I do lineage. So if there's a connection, I can find it, and I would love to talk about it because I am a Reed, and there's two spellings of Reed, R-E-E-D and R-E-I-D.
And
And
Tyler,
they're
yeah, and Tyler has put both of those in the chat to see if there's a connection in Suffolk. So, and Maureen Teddy is asking if you can send her the map showing the Black settlements in Nova Scotia. So, so, all right. Well, I'm going to sign us off, but I am so excited about everything that was shared this evening. Thank you to our three guests for really sharing. It's really their family. This is your family, your stories, and you shared it with, oh my goodness, several dozen people here this evening, and we really appreciate you coming and sharing. And I know the three of us, the four of us, along with lab staff, will be certainly in touch,
yes.
even going forward. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out this evening. And I want to say thank you to everyone who joined us. You have many choices on how you're going to spend your time on a Monday evening, and you chose it to spend with us. And we are so pleased that you did, and hope that you found this evening really fulfilling and educational, and kind of even thinking about your own family connections. We are going to be back with a new session next month, Monday, September 29th, same time, 6 o'clock. We're actually going to be continuing this conversation with other people working in the legacy of the Black Loyalists. So kind of stay tuned for maybe a part 2. We're pulling this together. So that's going to be on Monday, September 29th. In the meantime, please stay in touch with us. Sign up to receive our monthly bulletins for the latest news and happenings with the William and Mary Bray School Lab. And be sure to check out our website for the attendance list, as well as that Standing in the Gap timeline. Lots of other information available to you. And again, this recording will go up on our YouTube channel, hopefully by the end of the week. So thank you all for being here this evening. And thank you, Stephanie, Akindele, and Chantel. Thank you so much for your time and your energy and your enthusiasm for coming and sharing these stories this evening. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you too. Thank you.